welcome to our first Everyone Has a Voice event of 2025 year at the local library. A special thanks to Philip Engel for supporting the art of poetry and giving us this space, and Philip Source for continuing the series. I'm Hope Fernandez. Today, I am your Queen of Ceremonies. Our order of events will have open mic, followed by 2 featured poets. So without delay, I will introduce you to our first poet, Mario.
Good afternoon. For tonight, for this afternoon, I'm going to read one of my poems. It's words. Okay. When the asphalt sweats from its burning wet, when the pulpits of cathedrals yields under the weight of swings, when the everyday clamor uproots the lilies of hope, it is time to dream of paper and of words. Words to cross the Pacific with dry feet, to verify the obelisk. See the glassy eyes, suppressed laughter, thin lips, lank feet traversing both paths, hanging hands. The manna caught on kite strings, an empty pouch filled with wind. Despite my 60 years of toil in the age-old tundras, heading towards the country where the greenish juice flows from blooming apple trees, to feel the pockets under my eyes, to discover the clearing of downs, the calm, but the overturned cisterns along the avenues are empty. The expected gold trickles down into the Atlantic. I am left with only my words, my verses to alleviate my spleen. The reddish clouds rise in the ether, weathercock of harsh times, their scent spray my face. Am I crying with joy?
So next up is Dana with his loud voice.
And my old stuff. This is what William Saroyan says about writers. No writer knows why he writes. He only likes to imagine that he knows. I don't know why, I just can't stop. Okay, this is an old one. It started as an ekphrastic poem from years ago, but I've been working on it ever since and it keeps moving forward. It started out with just a picture of an old farm that had gone by and old farming implements rusting in the field. I said, that's kind of speaking for humanity as a whole. Saltwater farm, unattended Gothic farm, rusted hay mow, extended human absence. Weeds overgrow the salt marsh road. Stone wall holds tie line. Driverless John Deere hunkered. Silence speaks divestiture. New fashions cancel future dreams in change. Planck's quantum alterations. Cull species. Loss of purpose. Okay, the amplifier's here. That was good time.
So thank you, Dana, for saving the day, and thank you, Reggie, for super saving the day. And our next poet is Steve.
supermarket stocking job and went out to the car. Sitting there sweetly was the cashier, such a star. Not to be outdone, I opened the driver's door, took a look at dear Patty, be the young bore. Now seated and not knowing what to say or do, I drove her home, got out of the car too. We sat on the bumper and conversed for a while, then went inside to see her mother smile. I went home after that, high as a kite, with a marvelous way to end the night.
Thank you, Steve. Our next poet is Richard.
Phil, thank you for inviting me, and I'll be featuring you next month, and I'm looking forward to it. I was here maybe 20 years ago. Not sure who was hosting. I wrote this for my harp teacher, Regina Delaney, for her 70th birthday. She's a little red Spitfire, and I'm a member of the Moon Irish Harp Orchestra, or I pretend to play the harp, but nevertheless, this is for her. It's called Regina's Song. Mountain bird upon the tallest branch of pine, brushstroke of red against the lovely blue. She peels the silence with enchanted song so fine. She opens her jeweled chest and sings, heartstrings tuned so taut and true. Who knows the song of your heart but you? Seabird skims the waves, she soars and dives. Her feathered friends awake with haunting cries. They sing the crimson sun from sea to sky. Children rub their eyes of sleep and wonder why. It's because your heart is tuned so true. Who knows the song of your heart but you? City bird balances upon the wire that carries conversations false and true through all the seasons of desire. She sings the golden song to set in you. The harper knows the secrets of the heart. She plays the strings and sings for me and you. Thank you.
And just think, that's an appetizer because he'll be here in October. And next up is Amy.
Well, I'm here because of our queen. A couple of weeks ago, on the occasion of what would have been her mother's latest birthday, she posted a beautiful poem in tribute to her mother. She's a voice of her mother. And so my mother's would have been 111th birthday, just passed, and sent me back to something that I'd written for her on December 31st, 2006, which would have been the 24th anniversary of her death. When there was nothing more to be done except to wait for the cancer to swim up through the spinal fluid to the brain, we laid you in the living room next to the sliding glass door so that you could see the water through the glass, the glimpse of an Atlantic cove you loved. 68 years before, you were no sooner born beside a great Midwestern lake than you set off across half the world's waters, zigzagging through the Indian Ocean, pursued by German submarines. 5 years later, you returned fatherless to a landlocked childhood in Ohio. Scholarships took you twice across the Atlantic and back, but motherhood locked you to the land again. 5 of us swam in the waters of your womb. 4 surfaced alive. I was the last. In your 50th year, we moved northeast, close enough to drive to the Atlantic for a day trip, to swim or walk to marvel. You made my first glimpse of ocean an historic event built up miles in advance. Will it be around the next bend or the next? There, at last, a glimmer of bluish gray, the color of your eyes from which the tears fell so easily, leading where? Even later, after we moved to the house with the cove view, you never lost that landlocked child's delight. You swam every summer day in the murky waters of that cove, churning them with crawl kicks, caressing them with breaststrokes. In colder weather, you walked by them or paddled them in your ridiculous rubber canoe. You kept the backyard trees topped off so that you could watch the waters through the windows of the house. In those days, I too swam in the cove. I practiced the art you taught me, of floating on my back when tired, turning the sea from potential killer to bolster. The shingled beach faced west toward Boston, and at sunset the sinking orange bowl would paint a ribbon of golden light across the water. I'd glide down that river of light toward the molten dot on the eye. After you were widowed, between rounds of chemo, you splurged on a trip to Bermuda with your 4 adult children, where you frolicked in the turquoise surf and then needed all 4 of us to help haul you out of the undertow and up the steep beach. It was early winter when we set up the rented hospital bed in the living room for you to die in. You refused morphine, preferring to confront your condition consciously as long as you could. But eventually, your whole unconsciousness ebbed, and the point became moot. When you could no longer drink, we trickled water into your mouth from a sponge or a moistened cloth. And in the first silent hours of the last day of 1982, the cancer swam to the surface at last and gasped, and all that was left of you floated away. Where? Is it around the next bend or the next? 3 seasons later, I moved back into the house with the cove view. Much has changed. I have let the backyard trees grow up. The windows show the cove now only in winter through a frame of bare tree limbs. I burrowed into the land here as I once burrowed into your soft and comforting lap. Where you saw windows to the water, I saw a garden struggling to the surface. I no longer swim in the cove, those waters are too cold for me now, but I continue to water the garden with my sweat and my tears. And I will honor your courage and commitment to what you loved for the rest of my days.
Up next is Chris Bell.
Hey everybody, my name is Chris Bell. I'm a storyteller and I tell stories from memorable moments in my life, so they're all true stories. It's 1988. I'm a skinny junior in high school, trying to end my shift at a busy seafood restaurant. But I'm trying to carry a large steel vat filled with 6 gallons of sizzling hot oil. As I move through the kitchen, the vapors irritate my eyes, making it hard to see that someone's dropped a thin slice of tomato on the floor in front of me. My left foot slides forward and I use every muscle in my body to keep from falling. But this quick shift in balance is enough to make the oil splash from all sides and spill down on my bare forearms like lava. Now the kitchen staff is completely frozen. My manager, Ron, pushes through the crowd. "Oh my God, you need to go to the hospital right now." But I fight back tears and tell him I can't. I have a date. Her name is Tony, and she was the first person to ever smile at me like she was truly happy to see me. So when Tony agreed to be my girlfriend, her smile was my introduction to love. But I quickly learned something very important about having a girlfriend. In between all the roller skating, movies, and ice cream sundaes, dates are expensive as hell. So I got this job frying fish, and I absolutely hate this job. Because no matter how much I shower, I still smell like fish. But today is our 1-year anniversary, and we plan on going to Rocky Point Amusement Park. All summer, we have planned this date like it was our high school honeymoon. So no, I'm not gonna spend it in some hospital waiting room. In fact, I will rise up and walk out of my own funeral before I miss this date. So by the time I get to Tony's house, my arms are starting to throb. I'm wearing a long sleeve, thick flannel shirt. She takes one look at me and says, "Boy, it is 90 degrees today. What are you wearing?" So I tell her it's the only shirt I have that doesn't smell like fish, which isn't a lie. But secretly, I just don't want Tony to see my arms and start freaking out. By the time we get to the amusement park, my arms feel like they're engulfed in flames. And as we walk around, every little movement is sending waves of pain up and down my central nervous system. So when Tony reaches out to hold my hand, I hop back like her touch is a bolt of lightning. Now she looks a little confused and suspicious. We decide to go on the roller coaster first, and after we strap in, she says, "Remember, as soon as we go over the top, throw your arms in the air." But the cringe in my body language indicates there is no way I'm doing that. Now her body language looks like she's a little disappointed. So next we're walking past the carnival games and she hints, "I've always wanted someone to win me a big stuffed animal." So now I'm looking for games that don't involve using my arms. The best I can do is the Crazy Clown water gun shooting gallery. And just holding this gun steady, it feels like torture, so I'm concentrating like this was an Olympic event. And after 5 tries, I finally won her a prize. But she can't help but hide her disappointment when I hand her a tiny stuffed animal attached to a keychain. 6 rides and 1 absolutely disgusting corn dog lunch later, Tony and I are barely speaking. I'm sweating like I have malaria. And her smile, it started walking back to the car hours ago. She breaks the silence. "Look, I just want to go on the Ferris wheel and I guess we can just go home." So I'm thinking, okay, Ferris wheel, nice, slow, easy ride. All I have to do is get on and sit. I can do this. But as soon as we get on, she takes a look at me and says, "Why are you sitting so far away from me?" And then like a judo expert, she grabs my arm and flips it over her shoulder. Now, I don't remember exactly what I hollered, but the look on her face told me it might have been a little inappropriate. She loses it. "That's it, you're a jerk, I'm done." So I just break down and tell her exactly what happened at work. And now she's rolling up my sleeves to see the red, sticky, pulsating blisters on my forearms. And in that moment, she manages to mimic my manager on to a T. "Oh my God, you need to go to the hospital right now." 30 minutes later, a nurse is giving me an IV for pain and dehydration. I pass out shortly afterwards. Surprisingly, our relationship survived this disastrous date. But what it didn't survive was time. You see, while I was a junior in high school, Tony was a senior. And when she graduated, she got accepted to a great college, 2,000 miles away. So once the summer ended, so did our relationship. By winter, my arms were completely healed. But the absence of Tony's smile, it left something inside of me smoldering. So for years, I wished I could go back to that day at Rocky Point and just relive it. Because I would have done anything just to hold her hand, win her the biggest prize, and keep my arms wrapped around her as long as I could. Despite the pain I was in that day, I wouldn't care. Because on the day my first love told me that she no longer loved me, that was the day I learned there are certain things in life that hurt so much more than being burned with sizzling hot oil. Thank you.
If today is an indication of the year, we're in for a treat. Up next, Willie Nelson will be reading for Joseph Polly Cate.
It's Willie Wilson. And Joseph Polly Cate is a pastor, a senior pastor And actually, we've known each other. He was at the, before he lost his eyesight, he was at our church, Brockton Assembly of God. The Haitian church was there before they got their own facility. And so I'm reading 3 poems from his collection, Uplifted, Sharing the Heaviness, Lighten the Burdens. And he said that I could read whatever poems I want, so I've selected 3 from his collection. The first one is called He Knows My Name. Lord my God, how beautiful is your love. You created the stars and moon above. With your passion, you shield me from the wrath. I fear no raging seas. The wind is calm when you are on my path. In your laws, I find joy in the life I have been given. For all your protections, how may I be humbled for living? Your love takes me out of the path of the unrighteous. When the Lord is our guide to knowledge, who can be against us? As the sun gives breath and the flowers grow, your spirit is my joy. Lord, you have smitten mine enemies even when I was a child. You are the river that flows into eternity. You make my life flourish. As my refuge in my fortress, your laws are what my spirit knows. How do you know my name? In my future, you who dwelt in the secret place know where I will be. I trust you, Lord, for you know my name and inscribe it in the book of life. I have feared no evil even when there are evils. Troubles everywhere I look. I call upon you to lift me up to the mountain to answer my prayers. With your perception, you can see me. When I lay my head to rest, I wake up in peace, for you are with me. I am not afraid. That's He Knows My Name. The second selection is called Left My Relative Behind. And my grandmother's grandfather was, my maternal grandmother's grandfather was from Haiti. So this resonated with me from his collection. Left my relative behind. I left behind the province lands, mother's hands and father's plans. To the capital I flew away, chasing dreams in skies of gray. But in my sleep, they call me still. Whispers rise, a haunting chill. Father's face, my mother's eyes, flicker in my mind like fireflies. I left them when I was so young. Across the ocean far I've come. Yet distance stretched a hollow line between their graves and dreams of mine. I lost them all, my brothers too, the ones I loved, the ones I knew. The funerals I couldn't face left wounds in me I can't erase. In restless nights, my mother's there, throwing stones, her quiet glare. I see my brother's angry cries. In dreams they ask me, why? Why did I leave? Where did I go? Why couldn't I have stayed to show that love endures even through pain, even when oceans fell like rain? But now I stand in empty space, a hollow heart that time can't erase. I see their faces in my sleep and wake in silence, still to weep. And the last selection is a piece that I really like from his collection concerning immigrants. This last reading is Day of Immigrants. A crowd of immigrants standing with palm branches, immigrants who worked every day as slaves for the economy. Among them were the natural citizens of the land, with higher power over them. I saw the workers with palm branches, asking God to respond to their injustice. God, you are our God, creator of heaven and earth. We want to go to a place where there is no pain, where we can no longer exist here on earth. With your grace, let us gaze on heaven's gate. Immigrants who are fighting to make life tolerable. Kingdoms who refuse a fair share in the marketplace. I heard a hero wail, living on this earth's a disgrace. Another champion said, let's fight until we get the wages we deserve, equal pay and rights to all. I approached an immigrant and questioned, do you think we shall get off this land of despair? Yes, we are God's children, immigrants from all walks of life. We're singing in harmonious tribute, God, you put us here. I saw an officer stamp their passports and were told to wait. They had no choice. A long line of immigrants standing at the border carried palm branches, singing and crying in indignation. A man wrapped in the sun said to them, cry no more. I will give you the peace you deserve. A voice in the heavens commands, woe to men who did evil to their likeness.
And up next is our own Philip Source.
So, before there was GPS and the iPhone and all that, does anybody remember these? Cross the double line. You hold a sympathetic ear to the grinding of the gears, but the radio masks the shifting of years. Low beams filter through the denseness of the road, while the yellow lines you chase never seem to end. The air whistles by in the cracks of your armor, the humming of the land drones on and on. And you can't tell one dead end from another. Coffee's cold, cigarettes weak, and your foot's asleep. But the radio masks the shifting of years. Today turns tomorrow into yesterday, while the road snakes in an unknown direction. A rest area up ahead, take a chance to cross the double line. The speed never seems to catch up, while the high beams cut, you push your way on. The needle reaches empty, and you just can't fold that map back to the way it was. And with all the turmoil going on right now, everybody knows the cameras are on. It's called the camera's lens. We stood back and watched, eyes like the camera's lens, focusing in on what we wanted to see. We knelt, bent, contorted, and that brief second captured the moment. We stood back and waited, our minds developing, using solutions between reality and insanity. We sorted, molded, manipulated. Shadows formed, capturing the transparency of the moment. We stood back, sifting through images of black and white. We shared, held our breath, nervously waiting for acceptance, capturing the moment. Please welcome back our Queen of Ceremonies, Hope Fernandez.
So I think I said I had a concussion. I don't actually remember if I said that or thought that. I'm going to read a piece of mine before our feature. And so I had a fall, and I fell on my face. And I thought I was okay until 48 hours later. And thankfully and gratefully, it didn't mangle my face, but my face did hit the concrete before any other part of my body. And then the doctors tell you not to do too much and not to think too much. Stay away from screens and wear sunglasses. And I find it really difficult as an educator with one-to-one devices and all the papers are not on paper and everything has to be projected on a screen. So this is me trying to work it out. I did this on paper. The students taught me that if you use your iPhone, you can take a picture of your handwriting and it types it for you. I'm learning. So this is called Shock for a Heavy Blow. Here I am, rocking my shades indoors. The fluorescent lights too much, a circus of static buzz and burning hum. Students ask if I'm a rock star. No. But their question echoes as I cling to my chair, an island of thought, drowning in a sea of blinking cursors and endless Google Docs. It's not cool wearing these sunglasses all day. I need the darkness like a moth to the flame, but ironically I can't find the switch. I squint at the classroom smartboard, its bold blue light, a weapon of mass destruction. Right and left get mixed up. I pause, retrace my steps, wonder if the board is upside down, or is it just me, fighting against the crush of memory that slips away with each passing moment. They're not my slides up there. The TV's on mute and I can't remember how to turn the volume back up. Is it this button? No, it's that one. Where did my cell phone go? It's in my hand, right in front of me. Did I lose it again? I wonder if that's menopause or something far more sinister, concussion amnesia. I wish I could blame the heat on my flush on hormones. It's the ringing in my ears and the headache that never goes. Leaves me and makes me sweat. The essays I'm grading, they're a puzzle I can't solve. The words dangling like foreign fruit. I stare at one sentence, mine stuck in neutral. Is that right? No, that's not right. It is right. When do we use is? And when do we use was? Does it even matter? I forgot what the question was. Lost somewhere in the cracks of my brain. The tight knot of frustration churns inside me as I search for the right words, grasping at straws, digging through the rubble. I'm supposed to be resting, but every moment feels like a test. How many hours are too many? Can I work? Can I rest? Am I pushing too hard? The line between sleep and waking, thinking and forgetting is so fine it might as well be a spider's web. At 1:10, or is it 2:10? I get the email from my boss, her weekly check-in, an hour window for a 15-minute chat. I stare at it. Did she mean 1:10 to 2:10, or did she mean 1:10? I get out my phone to check the math, but then forget what I was doing. So I go back to staring at the email, wondering if I'm the one who can't count or if I'm just off in some obscure way that nobody can explain. Night falls, an hour stretches in front of me, like an endless road I can't drive down. I close my eyes, but sleep is a distant cousin out of reach. Did Shakespeare say, heavy is the head that wears the crown, or was that in the Bible? I should know this. I used to know this. I wonder if it's even worth the struggle to dig into the depths of my overworked brain, searching for answers that can't quite fit anymore. My brain, once a fortress of speed, now feels like a leaking sieve. Quick wit has turned into a slow crawl, and I'm stuck between the present and the past, grasping for thoughts that don't quite stick. Good news is I will get on. It's a pleasure to introduce Hannah Baptiste,
Okay.
Brockton Student Poet Laureate, a Haitian American spoken word poet and aspiring author residing in Brockton. Her work has been published by WBUR. She won a regional gold key in the 2021 Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. She has competed nationally in the NAACP ACT-SO program. She's a second-year student at Boston University, majoring in English literature. Good choice. She is currently serving as a Brockton Youth Poet Laureate. Here we are.
Hello, everyone. Looks like my bio is a little outdated because I am somehow a senior in college now. I don't know how I got there so fast. So, my first poem today is titled Generational Curses. This poem was inspired by something that happened about a year and a half ago. I went to a book signing by Elizabeth Acevedo, and what comes to a book signing is a talk. So she was talking about how she could never talk to her mom about anything, and how her mom would never tell her anything about her life. So this sparked a conversation in the car, and which inspired this poem. So this poem is titled Generational Curses. On the ride home from a book signing, the words from the author that echoed across cultures becomes one with the car's air filtration system as my relative and I speak for the first time in months. My family member says to me, when she spoke about her mom not telling her anything about her life, I related, my mom won't tell me anything about her life. And I thought to myself, the saddest generational curse is not realizing that you're repeating it. I recall the locked doors on questions asked about her life, and years of learning what words can't leave my mouth without seismic activity being detected in the vicinity. I remember all my moments of defeat as questions of the past become dead-end streets, the stories of our ancestors are lost at sea, and the memories of the living die before their bodies leave us. My generation has become one with the phrase, we're losing recipes, to explain the departure of our unique stories from our history, the disillusion of our ways of life, the communities gone underground to isolation, and social progress turning into memorials, present enough so we can see how far we've come, but a reminder that some things will never die out. The importance of storytelling and passing down recipes for life weigh differently in each family. They blame the youth for not knowing the ways of the past, but forget stories and cultures are only passed down when spoken about. Unspoken conversations have become our religion, and we are on the fast lane to heaven. The recipe for communication has never been perfected, but remains at risk of becoming a lost language. I look out the car window and wonder if they will realize they have become the person they swore they would never be. But for now, in the car, I watch the world pass me by and make the same promise they made to themselves many years ago, hoping that this time in our family line, with me at the wheel instead, that silent prayers, intentions, and hard work will breed evolution from the way we still are. This next poem is titled Election Day. I wrote this poem after Kamala Harris did not win president, and I've really been feeling this recently because I'm really missing the days where I did not have to think every single day about what was going on. Every day it's something new on the news, and you can just never get a break. So I want to read this poem to remind people of the mistake that they made. I am familiar with the stories of my people, especially an old tale reworked through today's diction and yesterday's tropes. A black woman tries to enter white areas surrounded by walls of barbed wire, of suppression and guards of oppression, with serpents hiding in the nature we once connected with, ready to attack intruders that threaten the future of our nation. Today, the tale begins as this. Kamala Harris makes historic bid for presidency and loses because people didn't believe a black woman was worthy of leading the country her people built. Too many of us have heard similar stories since childhood, stories where the fights lost are not representative of our efforts and have been forced to hold back tears Since the pain has cycled through your body so many times, you become numb to it. The tears I want to cry today will fill a pitcher my descendants cannot drink from. The tears would leave every pore on my body. The tears from battles won will soon forget to cycle the earth as the dams we built to block prejudice break down and water flows through the beautiful world we built. The tears I want to cry today are for the peace of mind I have lost on the way here. The tears I want to cry today are for the Black women who believe they can no longer dream, those who forget the world sees us through lazy eyes and refuse to wear glasses to see past the blurriness of their ideals. We should be allowed to hope that the world may see us as we see ourselves, but instead we weep for the pain in our lungs that persists with every breath, and for the dreams that have met their death. We weep for the war we cannot sign a treaty for, even though we cannot take the violence anymore. We weep for our children who have to continue fighting the battles of oppression and stereotypes that others keep forging. We weep for the progress we thought we had, and for the successful growth of the budding flowers of understanding we hope will be given in bouquets to all. And we weep for our very existence that is submerged in the heat of a million suns, necessary for everyone's existence but toxic to the touch. But our weeping will not be in vain, for we will overcome this asteroid just like those before us. For the Black women who believe they have the power to be the first and have learned that the world will never want to quench their thirst. We come together to lift ourselves up because it is the only way above the walls with barbed wires that awaits us when we try to cross the border to a better life. Kamala Harris may have been the second to try and get this far, but she will not be the last, because the vines of a good story are ones that others will pluck the fruit of inspiration from and use it to continue telling a story for as long as it needs to be cycled through the earth until its meaning is understood by all who inhabit it. So, my next poem is titled Escapism, because sometimes you just really want to escape the reality of life. I melt into fictional worlds to escape the heartburn of the living. Icebergs peek in with hope it'll cool down, just to melt away and separate. Nature's life rafts that will soon join forces with the feeling of drowning. Every day I rise up with the hope that the sun won't burn us all for our actions. Every day I rise with the hope we can protect ourselves from man-made forces and open my eyes to the cracks in my vision. I long for a world where outside is bearable. I long for a world where outside feels like a cool breeze on a hot day. I long for a world where our civilization gets it right in one generation, and goodness and sustenance become the air we breathe, and not the carbon dioxide we exhale when the rich play God. So for now, I sink into the make-believe, because there is a reason we believed that world could somehow exist in the living and in our dreams, and I long for the day I don't have to escape to the make-believe to feel alive on this earth. All right, this next poem is titled The Living Testament of Black Girlhood, because as I mentioned before, I am now a senior in college, and I really miss being young. As young as a kid. I know I'm still young, but I really miss being a kid. Life is starting to feel way too real right now. Okay, so like I said, this poem is titled The Living Testament of Black Girlhood. I, Black girlhood, being of sound mind, declare this to be my last will and testament. These memories of the cycle of joy and pain are what will remain after I am gone. I leave you with the memories of persistence when you taught yourself how to smooth your hair into a ponytail, just to be met with the bump, bump, bump of the roadblocks in your hair, stopping you from getting a perfect ponytail, forming potholes of frustration that sink deeper with more pressure until you learn that perfection can't always be achieved, but the progress you make on the way to your destination will always produce waves of celebration. I know you will remember the hair bobbles, bubbles, beads, and barrettes that felt like doors slamming on your scalp when being attached to your hair, and the hair grease and hot combs where burning became a ritual, learning that the absence of pain is a mere myth, but understanding that goodness is still there when the dust settles. I leave you with the natural hair journey with missed highway exits. During your drive to the destination of self-love, where the wind rattled through your ears and hair and you learn that finding where your beauty lies will have detours, but you'll reach your destination in due time. You will inherit the scar on your knee that have graced the lives of most Black people. The stories of induction may differ, but the wound that became a beauty mark remains the same for all. I leave you with the hand-clapping games, Miss Mary Mack, Concentration 64, and many more that roared through sound waves at recess and after-school pickup lines, where you hardened your calluses through play and friendship, learning that the best foundations are made with a village at your side. I hope you remember the scripture from long sermons and Sunday school sessions that you can still picture as the shadow of adulthood disappears and you take its place in the light. I hope you maintain your close connections with the family, friends, and makeshift cousins you played with in the backyard at family functions. I hope you heal from the experiences unique to your existence. My legacy differs for everyone in my path, and some are left with more lessons than others. When my departure becomes a reality and I am reborn for newcomers, I, Black girlhood, after I am gone, after I am only sealed in the diaries of your memory, remember me for all I have left you with. I will never truly be gone, for I am present in the scars, burn marks, calluses, and smile lines that remain bonded onto your body and mind. I will never truly leave you and will follow you to every lifetime you inhabit. I, Black girlhood, sign my name to this instrument and bid you farewell. I am going to end with one of my favorite poems I've written. It's titled, Learning to Love Yourself in All Stages of Black. Learning to love yourself in all stages of Black has no guidebook, no 12-step program. There is no self-help book to calm the longing that comes with learning to love your contradictions and not falling victim to life's convictions created by those wanting you to collapse in hatred from standards you didn't set. There is no guided meditation to deal with the tremor in your brainwaves that turn your dark pigmentation into ruptured gas lines that a city will take too long to repair. There are no steps to learning to love yourself when you begin to see dark skin as something disturbed and not natural. There are no steps to learning to love yourself when the sun doesn't take your skin under its wing and you begin to compare yourself to others. Learning to love myself in all stages of Black is to say no to a world that wants us to look like expensive American Girl dolls at every hour. It is to accept the frizz and embrace its need to find its own path in life, even if it's inconvenient for me. It is to accept that my curls may not look the same the next day and still find a way to look in the mirror and see royalty that was pushed aside for centuries by colonizers, but still found a way to claim the throne. Learning to love myself in all stages of Black is to be okay when my edges puff like an exhale of all that don't belong in my lungs. Releasing standards I thought were needed for me to succeed is to see myself through my own eyes. It is learning to be okay with shrinkage because a dandelion is still beautiful before it takes flight. It is learning to unravel the sailor's knot of centuries of sailing with no anchors and being beaten into other people's molds. It is unraveling the knots from the boat docks you were tied to, waiting to show you the next stage of your imprisonment. Learning to love myself in all stages of Black is to not apologize when my journey is different from another. It is to not apologize when my anger comes hurling down like a failed space mission because the stage of patience decided it was time to act. It is to not apologize for taking up space because that is what we were meant to do. It is to laugh like it's your last day to do so, and knowing your laugh makes ships move forward with the way it rumbles the surface of the water just enough to move forward after someone tried to tell you you were too loud and should be silenced. It is to accept that to the outside, I may not look perfected, but know that my inner peace is protected. It is to accept that one day I will tell myself I love myself wholeheartedly in every stage of black and believe it. Thank you.
So before Hope introduces Reggie, I want to recognize our newly appointed Poet Laureate, Pauline Anderson. In December, Pauline and our Youth Poet Laureate, Adriana DeHady, will be our feature poets. Hope, take it away.
Let me introduce Massachusetts' first poet laureate and friend of everyone who has a voice, Reggie Gibson. He's a literary performer, has lectured and performed widely in the U.S., Cuba, and Europe, representing the U.S. and Italy. Reggie competed for and received both the Absolute Poetry Award, and I'm going to say this word wrong, Monfalcon, and Europe in a Versi Award in LaGuardia di Como. I can't see it. He's an actor, creator of the Shakespeare Time-Traveling Speakeasy, a theatrical literary concert focusing on the life and works of William Shakespeare. He serves on the board of the New England Poetry Club and Grub Street Writers and teaches at Clark University. Welcome.
Hello to all. Thank you for being here. I was talking to Ralph and thinking about, like the difficulty, like what kind of people show up for poetry reading on a Saturday, no less. And so much of that is wonderful because we all know, right, that one of the things that is tougher than writing this stuff is to get people to sit still long enough to listen to it, And having been tapped by the governor to become Massachusetts Poet Laureate has been quite an adventure because I've lived here for 25 years and I had a very complicated relationship to the state, let's just say. And then some years ago, a thing started to happen where I realized that I was falling in love with it, right? That I loved being here and started to really dig into the history of this state and those complications. It's the first state in the Union to institutionalize slavery. It was the first to get rid of it. The first slave ship from the Americas was built in Marblehead, Massachusetts in 1636. It was called the Desire. And so look at all of that complex, complicated history of when you think about it, right? The women's rights movement jumped off basically here, the gay rights movement here. This was a place where there was also the anti-war movement jumped off here. All of this stuff that happened in this place. So I started, as I'm traveling around the state, I'm starting to notice more and more. And this is a piece that I think only one person in this room has heard because it's the poem that I read at the inauguration. And this is for everybody who's decided to cash their chips here. There is a song in this land, a song of this land, a melody threaded like marrow through its prehistoric bones, a song born beneath Pleistocene ice sheet, etched into glacial lake, scored into every stone. Can you hear it? Feel it trill from deposited till and kettle pond, upwell from each elm and birch, from oak and pine, from black and blue spruce, sugar maple, sycamore, and sassafras. It rises like white oak and ash, from every lady fern and foam flower thriving in forest shade, from each blade of rye, stilt, mully, and bleached beach grass. Oh, don't you hear it? Cantillating from coastline, smelling of Atlantic brine, brimming from its many living waters. The Merrill-Squamish, the Mississauga, the Chicopee, the Neponset, the Monotiquet, the Quinnipiac, the Wewayantic, the Agawam, the Assabet. It bells and bellows, resounds, billows, echoes from Skiff Hill to Mount Everett, from Greylock to Great Blue. It sings to you. It sang through the First Peoples too. The Wampanoag, the Nipmuc, the Nomgeog, the Pinnacook, the Mahican, the Nauset, the Pocumtuck, Abenaki, and the Massachusetts. A song older than human language, ancient as firefly light and hummingbird heartbeat. It knits every piece of the land into each native man, woman, and two-spirit willing to hear it and be claimed by the beauties it brings. How many have heard it? How many? So many we have neither tongue nor time to sing, and yet we sing. And we keep on singing this way to get us out of no way, penning the next word, publishing the next book, teaching the next child, educating the next mind, keep singing that song, and we hold it like we hold history, like we hold revolution, like we hold resilience. We hold on to that song, that melody that constantly plays, insisting we be who we historically are. And we are, each of us, part of that song, in spite of what others might tell us. We are all part of that song, our longings, our struggles, our frustrations, and our triumphs, all part of this history, both remembered and forgotten. We are the immigrant and the Puritan thou shalt not, and the round the world heard shout. A paradox of patriotic pilgrim's pride and genocidal guilt, as elevated as Concordian transcendentalism and as elemental as Salem's sand and silk. Ours is both the enslaved back lashed with whip and the haversack hanging against the hip of freedom-fighting Minutemen. We are Massachusetts, in spite of what others tell us, sometimes easily, full-throatedly singing of liberty, and sometimes wheezing and hoarsely as if dying of thirst. Sometimes off-pitch, sometimes in pitch-perfect voice. We are carols and cacophonies, beatitudes and blasphemies, hummed and thrummed rhythmically to the drummed snare of history. We are all that song, sometimes witty-ditty, sometimes gritty chant, sometimes pretty ballad or melismatic rant, singing the truth, but singing it slant. But always, we are that song that plays in the ears and stays in the ears of this nation like strident fife, sounding its highest ideals above the daily din of democracy that each generation must fight to realize and make real. We are all the song of Massachusetts. Hear us singing from Norfolk to Suffolk, Dukes to Essex, Barnstable to Bristol, Worcester to Middlesex, Berkshire to Plymouth, Nantucket to Franklin, and from every town in townie, from Hampshire to Hamden. Any path this nation takes is because we helped choose it. Any tyranny that triumphs is because we helped excuse it. Any freedoms this nation loses is because we helped to lose it. But it is not in our nature long to suffer such things, but instead to toss our heads back, roll up our sleeves, fill our lungs with air, and sing, sing, Massachusetts, sing. One of the things about living here is you find out the people who fought for things. And there was a woman in the Commonwealth, her name was Lucy Stone. Is anyone familiar with Lucy Stone? Let me see armpits. Okay. Those of you who are not, right, you need to find out who this woman was. She was at the cusp of both the women's rights movement as well as the abolition movement here in the United States. And what happened If she was at Seneca Falls with Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony, who when they had a women's rally, but what she said was, she said, we need a movement. We need to open this up to everybody who wants freedom. And she let in men when other women didn't want to let in men. And Lucy Stone said, hold up a minute. We're trying to get the right to vote. Who has the right to vote? Well, the people who got the right to vote are going to have to vote for who gets the right to vote. So if you're not letting men up in here, you're not letting in the people who can vote for us to have the right to vote. Strategy. What she said was, hold on. We shouldn't be tripping on anybody who gets freedoms just because we don't have it. If freedom is the thing we're supposed to have, it's a good thing when anybody gets it. We need to support this. And she did. Even in spite of people hating on her, she supported that. And she was also like, don't you understand what's going to happen when these black men get the right to vote? They're going to be voting for people who should have the right to vote. Strategy. This is one of the reasons I love this kind of stuff, because this is about the creation of intentional community. And that's what we're going to have to do. Intentional community, small places in which we build each other up. Right? And what this is also about is us showing up for people who don't look like us. Us showing up for people who don't think like us. Right? So, it's like a real UN, a UN that works. You mess with them, you messing with me. So Lucy Stone, looking at who she was, a woman of profound strength. Now I'm going to read a piece that I dedicated to her. And I'm going to read it in the voice of my brother. Or the faux voice of my brother. Why? Because my brother is a low-key misogynist. My brother is a chauvinist. But you know what? His interpretation of his religion tells him that's okay. His interpretation of his religion tells him, well, you know, God put me in charge, so it don't matter what I say or do to them. Okay? They listen to me. So this is going to be in the faux voice of my brother, who really does have a problem with women who got ovaries and a spine. Who are these women? Women who refuse to be owned by father or husband. Women who have the gumption to want to own their own lives. Who are these hard-working, gifted-minded women? These morning stars that shine when told to cloak and cover their brightness? Who are these Lucy Stone-type women? Who are these abolitionists, feminists, free-thinking bringers of light women? These ain't going gently into that good night women. These ain't going to stop till the world's made right women. Who are these women? These Lucy Stone-type women. Women who refuse to believe their status is God-ordained shame. Who get hymnal books thrown at their faces because they don't know that their place is at home. Not trying to better the human race. Not trying to move us toward a better space. They don't know what their place is, but I'm here to tell them, who are these women? Some men find it hard to love them, but Massachusetts needs more of them. Who are these women who want to be more than an appendage of society, more than the relic of somebody, who feel they need to speak the truth fearlessly, hoping to weigh the scale against toward justice and equality? Who are these women, these Lucy Stone-type women, these women who think they can protest what men know to be best, women who think they can wear the pants, who won't submit their last name to a man's, who won't listen to their daddies and stay uneducated, who waste their time and their mind's cultivation and refuse to marry well and let their bellies swell with children when they're told to, like they're told to, who don't act like they're told to. Who are these women? These women who refuse to say less, be paid less, who believe they should have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of, are you kidding me, happiness. Who are these Lucy Stone-type women? Some men find it hard to love them, but Massachusetts needs more of them, needs more of these Lucy Stone-type women who won't accept repeated injuries and usurpations, daily degradations, who want to exercise inalienable rights across this nation. Who are these women? These women that are not okay with having no voice, not okay with having no choice, no choice, no choice, no choice. Oh, not okay with accepting the supremacy of a man and giving all the power into his hands. Women, who are these Lucy Stone-type women of confidence, self-respect, who refuse to be made abject or some man's object? Who are these Lucy Stone women who refuse to blush or hush or shush when commanded to, who bite through ropes with bare teeth and spit venom and medicine? Who are these women, these wolf-running women, these tide-turning women, humanity-affirming women, mind-churning, ever-learning, respect-earning women, history-making, role-breaking, bridge-building, unyielding, history-page-turning, tea-burning women with light they refuse to hide? Who are these Lucy Stone women who hold their heads and their fists up high? Some men find it hard to love them, but Massachusetts needs more of them. Some men find it hard to love them, but Massachusetts needs more of them. Some men find it hard to love them, but Massachusetts needs more of them. Creation myth. That March day in Massachusetts when the second-rate poet from Chicago went shopping for clothing, he never thought he'd buy that black shirt. You know, the one embroidered with that crazy Eastern motif, the one he figured was not his style, the one he figured he'd only wear once, the one he did, in fact, only wear once. Yes, the thing now hanging in the closet next to the other thing worn once, now hanging in the closet. His main thought was, when I just gonna look on stage tonight, he was vain that way. Likewise, when she of Belmont, Massachusetts, wore that cleavage-clinging pink halter top and ultra-tight pair of black pants, you know, that outfit that screams, damn it, I'm a woman, I'm a feminist with a master's degree in education, and I want men to respect me for my mind. Yeah, that one. She was only dressing for a comfortable night out with a girlfriend who ended up flaking on her at the last minute, leaving her to go out alone. She'd never been out alone. She'd never been to a poetry reading before. She almost didn't go this time. But then she did. She surprised us that way. Now, they did not expect to meet, much less fall into one another and begin to walk that spiral-webbed, frail, thin bridge built between two people on the verge of finding one another interesting. He was a man who had a rather profound liking for the ladies, all of them. But he was profoundly shy about women, especially that night. She, being from Massachusetts and thus a member of the Frozen Chosen, was not used to speaking with, people she didn't know, especially second-rate poets from Chicago, but she was a little bit more forward that evening. And although this is apocryphal, as stories tend not to corroborate, it is generally understood they eventually ended up at IHOP. And over a cup of coffee and a shared rooty tooty fresh and fruity, he thought, maybe. She thought, yeah, maybe. As for you, you were not yet you. That is to say, you were you, potentially. But you were not yet this ever-parasitic tsunami of new discovery fueled by laughter and lactation, leaving drinking glasses and broken CDs in your wake. No. You were somewhere else, not quite there, a small curved question mark, faint in forming at the end of some egg-named future. Then they loved, and it was good. So they loved again. And during the August of one of those agains, the part of you that had been singing softly and alone inside of her began to sense the part of you singing softly and alone inside of him, which began to sense the part of you singing softly and alone inside of her. And when those two soft, alone songs, they began to seek and find each other, and when they did, they began to grow and to sing and to swell into one song. You. And when the growing and the singing and the swelling were done, you were lifted from inside the soft dark of her, lifted into light, into scream, into breath. After that, he took you into an empty room where no one could see the two of you, held you above his head, looked upwards at the ceiling, imagined the fluorescent lights to be some ocean of greater lights, stretched endlessly above a land that smelled of salt water and village song. And as must have happened in the lands from which your ancestors came, he brought you close and trimmed into his chest, told you what your name would be, Thanked his now dead father for your safe passage, then asked for strength and guidance from whatever poet's hand authored all this. To my fellow travelers, here's to you, my fellow travelers, for all of us riding this rail, all of us in this hulk of human humming, headed toward the same unknown. This is for those of us convinced we know each other, but really don't. Here's to giving up the stories that won't let us let our unnecessary baggage go. Here's to letting our unnecessary baggage go. For throwing it on the tracks, refusing to look back, for realizing what luggage we have no need of, for asking what inherited weight can we brave being free of, what can we refuse to carry. This is for my fellow travelers who, like me, are weary of being wary, worn out by worrying where each other's daggers are. This is for you, the Vietnamese man who had just arrived in this land and was struggling to speak our language, who I pretended not to understand for the enjoyment of Americans who had forgotten they're the descendants of immigrants too. This is for you, born into wealth and privilege you did not earn, but nevertheless are convinced you deserve. Yes, you with the legacy swagger and the trust fund voice. I know you did not ask for it, that it was bequeathed to you by your ancestors. I will trust there is something more to you than what you've inherited, something inside you wishing to be other than your ancestors' wishes. Big hand goes up to that kid who just doesn't care about the latest anything, who is comfortable in a t-shirt and faded jeans, who could care less about what's in fashion because they remember what a good friend told me, that fashion is for people with no style of their own. And this is for you with a style of your own, for you who want to be seen and heard because this world tells you not to be seen nor heard. You, born in a body that doesn't feel like home. I don't know what it's like to be you, don't know what it means to look into mirrors that don't reflect me. But I am willing to listen if you're choosing to tell. I am desperate to keep confronting my narrow notions of gender. This is for you, my queers and questionings, those who I have been taught not to embrace. Yo, I worked on that for a while and I think I'm past that. Please be patient. It's been a bit of a journey. This is to the imam and the rabbi at the airport, one on prayer rug making his third of 5 salats of the day, the other repeatedly bending at the waist, both of you hurling prayers eastward. May you find ways to live in peace beyond politics, coexist beyond the stricture of scripture, and pass your wisdom on to a world sorely in need of it. This is even for you, of the sloganeering bumper sticker and baseball cap. You whose Confederate flag and good old boy image ignites every fight and flight instinct in my lynch-fearing body and makes me want to court the idea of buying more than one gun. I'd like to think that you and I want the same freedoms, that we want a country that works for everyone, but I'm beginning to doubt that. I need you to come forward. And when you do, let's sit and talk about ways to make it happen. And this goes to you, the black-milled teenager I used to be, the one criminalized at birth. You living between rifle sights of the world that would rather see a hole in your person than see you as a whole person. You who stuffs your ears with hip-hop and forget the world because the world has forgotten you. I know how hard it is to unlearn that poem of the bloody fist, how difficult to unsing that song of knives. May you find a place in which you can smile and not have the world thinking you are bearing your fangs. to you, the ones I have been taught to hate and to harm, to shun and to shame, to disrespect and dismiss. Bear with me as I struggle against mother's mouth, father's fears, and the myriad shapings and chiselings of culture. Bear with me as I muzzle my instincts that have been programmed to growl and bark above the human in you. My friend Ken Foreman, who none of you will get to meet because he is no longer living. The only person in this room I think met him is Richard. This was a oh, you met Ken. That's right. You took places. You recorded Ken. And because of what Philip did, I have one of the few recordings of a man who was a dear mentor to me when I was younger. Thank you for that, Philip. And he was a person who didn't want to write down much of his poetry, and so he would say it and I would write it down and I would commit it to memory. This was a gentleman who came to me when I was, as I like to tell people, suffering from a disease called my 20s that lasted 13 years. And he was cat and came and he said, you know, you might want to be a decent poet if you don't drink yourself to death. And you know, I'm all 20-something years old, swaggerific and whatnot, you know, full of malt liquor and fire. I'm like, man, back up off me, bro. You know what I'm saying? Coming up to me, telling me what I can, back off me, man. You know, but he kept on coming back. You know, and he was hard-headed. He just kept coming back. He brought me a book, and I'm like, what's up with this guy? Is he gay or something? You know what I'm saying? Is he trying to get me in bed? No. This was a dude who loved me before I was worth it. You understand what that means when you look back? Somebody who loves you before you're worth it, right? And since that connection with him, I was like, man, I hope every teenager, 20-something, has that person, you know what I'm saying, in their life. Because the 20s is a rough time, y'all. Any 20-year-olds have been here? 20-something? Y'all know what I'm saying, right? Anybody live past 20? It was hard, man. It's tough, man. And so Kent was a dude who would come and always, you know, give some wisdom. And you know, being in my 20s, I was falling in and out of love and whatnot, you know what I mean, getting my heart broken. And I would call him up and I would ask him to read me this poem, right? That he said, it's not really a love poem, it's about having survived love. And this is from him, Ken Foreman. Wrote this in 1965. It is the law that empires, bridges come and go. Babies are born to die, and those bridges are built to someday fall, and shoes wear out. Spring will return. It is the law. Fat, flat feet plod their beats. Time patrols this universe, enforcing the law. Love. Well, that is a crime of passion. Innocent desperados, we wandered deep into the forest that we were, becoming awed by the miracles we became. We were beautiful, so young and beautiful. And at night, amongst our pungent love, little muttered cries would flutter from our lips like startled doves, eclipsing when we would explode, both of us moaning and godlike and spent in all of the furthest firmament. We first led each other down that road. Remember how once upon a love we laughed, how we were kind and cruel and a little bit daft, how we danced in the streets of Flatbush and Mardi Gras, too naive to count the cost of believing in fairy tales. But now we have lost. And this too is according to the law. And I raged like a teardrop, angry with an ocean, and when my appeal came back stamped, denied, something in me almost died. But now, having wept my pain away, I lift my head, I wish you luck, and I say that I will not mourn the passing of a rose. For I am a law-abiding citizen. will return. It must. It is the law. Go with two more, and then I'll get out of your wig or out of your extensions, whatever you're wearing. This is a piece that was pilfered from Shakespeare. As You Like It, Scene 2, Act 2, Scene 7. It's a guy named Jacques who is very down on life, and he gives that whole speech of all the world's a stage. And this, I'm thinking, is what I needed to hear, this part that I'm in when I was younger. So I wrote it inspired by my children and what I felt that they need to know. And I take it all of us women need to hear this. All your life is a stage. And you sisters and brothers, you in-betweens and you others all have your exits and your entrances, your various performances, and in fits and starts, you're gonna play many parts. First, you come onto this scene, writhing and screaming, nearly blind and dumb, drooling through toothless gums, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms. This time is now lost to you. You cannot recall any of it at all. You were innocent and ignorant of screed or scroll or scripture. And before you know it, you are hit with a torrent of facts and figures, indoctrinated by these bitter critters who give you the rules of both school and home, who tell you on which side of what line it is you belong. And so you begin dividing the world into thems and theys and thatses and thises, hims and hers and misters and misses. And just when you think you got it down pat, you discover the thunderous bliss of kisses. And that just messes up everything. For how can so small and seemingly meaningless a thing bring you to a place where you find you are displaced of gravity, floating, eyes closed and bearingless, caringless in the blessed yes of it? And while you are still lost and reeling in the wake of that feeling, some well-meaning killjoy asks you, "So, kid, what are you going to do with your life? What will you do for work, kid? How will you earn? Will you learn a trade, kid? Will you matriculate into college? Will you choose one or none of both of those options, kid? Come on, kid. The bus is leaving, kid. Gotta make some decisions, kid. If you don't, you're gonna get left behind. Better hop on quick like we did." And so you do. You make a choice, and we give you a small part of the world to carry, along with some instructions. Hurry up! Hurry up! Don't slow down, don't mess around, don't dilly, don't dally, don't dawdle, don't bobble, don't wobble, don't tarry. And after decades of doing so, sometimes you might find that in between all that heavy heaving and all those loads you carried down all those well-worn roads, if you're lucky, a knowing finds you. And you begin to sense that sometimes through older, slightly blurred eyes, you have achieved a sharper vision. And evolution, or the beginning of some species of wisdom, a wisdom revealing a lost truth that you sense now in your youth, but by then will know without doubt that there were and are only a few things really worth giving 1/10 of an inch of a damn about. A sense of being flowered open by love. A hand reaching for yours when the hydra-headed darkness makes you tremble and sway. A long-needed, much too short cry and laugh with those who walked with you along the way. Just a little bit more poetry, and the blessed thought of doing it again for one more day. Just one more day. I'll end with another piece from Kent, because this is the one that he said when he is no longer of this world, that this is the piece that he would want to be remembered by. It's called It's About Time. Look, y'all, right now, imagine it. Everything is happening. Melodrama and super cinerama. Right now, somewhere, some child has just fallen from some tree. Some philandering husband misplaced his key to the house, dreads the anger of his much dreaded spouse. It's 4 a.m. and I want to know where you've been, and I want to know right now. Right now, in some clothesline tenement yard, some junkie is in need of a fix. While prostitutes bemoan the scarcity of tricks, times are hard. Somewhere, right now. 'Cause love, somebody's got the blues. Lives in a world of deeper, darker hues and grottos tunneled into the bottoms of Italian aisles. And baby, trials are going on now. At this very second, on any humming highway, any deadly drumming dive-way, 2 speeding cars collide head on. While some cunning student of chess decides it's best to forfeit a pawn for a knight. Somewhere else, a fight. In an angry hand, a gun muzzle flashes, enemies guard against each other's border clashings, and blood is going to flow somewhere right now. Somewhere right now, there is a Walmart that's on fire while it's thronged with shoppers. Somewhere else, some poor sharecropper's mule has just gone lame. Tragedies come in assorted sizes like prizes in some cosmic bingo game. Anyway, some midwife overhears some newborn babies indignant crying. And right now, in these loneliest of times, someone is dying now. Right now, somewhere, on some stage, some musicians are cooking. But ghetto gigolos keep on brushing off their clothes, hoping to get a little bit better looking for the vixens, fixing to get into something or the other. Somewhere, chastity is not being defended bravely. Somewhere else, some kindred soul is bent over some rusted shovel, digging gravely now. Somewhere, right now, maybe even here in the Brockton Library, somebody's high. Maybe a couple of somebody's is high. Somewhere else, somebody's eating Aunt Jemima's sweet potato pie. Dig in a pool hall now, some loser is racking. At some place in Brockton, some poet keeps on yakking now. Right now, somewhere, some prim elderly virgin overhears some dirty joke and smiles. And right now, some kid who only listened to hip-hop or rock has just put on some headphones and is right now diving into the first notes of a trumpeter named Miles. Every time, all kinds of things are going on at this millisecond or at some ancient dawn. What? How? Oh, dear dreamers, don't y'all know? There is no other time than now, than now, than now, than right now.
Boy, am I glad you had Mike. That was outstanding. Thank you everyone for attending. Please come back October 18th, where we'll do it again, and our features will be Nicole Tamers and Richard Cambridge. Thank you.